Welcome back to Omicron Protocol. This is the second video in the series of teaching you how to play and the basic rules of the game. So earlier you saw how to interact, all the stats, and how to use the action store as well as the active and passive abilities. This time we're going to introduce the other stars of the game, which are the CyMs, cybermimetic sociopaths. They are the third-party enemy that makes this game very interesting because every game will be quite different depending on how they show up and what they do. So we're also going to show you a little bit about what Buck and Seeker does really well, which is not what you see in the Quick Start guide because we generally focus on Pi and Thug. All right, let's take it away, Peacemakers.
All right, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to try to get rid of some of these CyMs. But in the process, I'm going to generate what's called EM noise, and quite a bit of it. So what I want to do is utilize Buck's shotgun blast. Now this is an AoE template ability, so let's talk about that. First, I need to position Buck to where his little portrait is, and then the red hexes in this template are what's available for him to, the area, I guess, of his effect. So I'm going to move him to where I can sort of visualize these 6 hexes covering as many of these models as I can. And I think I can get right here, and using this shape, I can affect 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. I can get these hexes with my shotgun blast. Now with AoEs, you're trying to hit the decks of the targets inside the template area, and you roll 1 die per target to a minimum of 3. So even though I actually only have 2, I'm going to roll 3 dice. Now, if there were 2 more CyMs in the area, I'd end up rolling 4 dice. Okay. So, here I go. I'm going to roll 3 dice, and I just need to hit the decks of each of them once. So, that's a good roll, right? I've got a miss, but I really only need 2 hits. I allocate hits based on who's under the template. So, with those 2 hit, I get to clear them off the board.
Boom, just like that.
Just like that. But it doesn't come without a cost. First of all, it does cost me 2 of my precious AP to trigger that ability. And next, I do have to pay the cost in EM noise. So that's a big burst of electric power. So that generates a lot of electromagnetic noise. So that means that when I end my activation right now, I have 4 EM noise. Every CyMs within 4 of my hex can now be activated by my opponent.
Okay, and it is my turn to activate the CyMs. So every time when one person finishes activating, the other player gets to activate all the CyMs based on that EM noise. And in this case, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. This guy, McFly, is in there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Ah, too bad. Glitch is not. If he made more noise, I would have been able to activate both of them. When they activate, they will do pretty simple things. Number 1, they will move up to 2 hexes, and they have to end in a hex closer to them than when they started. So I have a lot of choices, actually. I could go here, that's 3 away, from 4 away. I could go here, and so forth. Or I could just go 1. In this case, I can't reach him, but I'm going to do another example where Pi just happens to be here instead. So I cannot reach Buck, but this allows me to get to Pi, and then I can make an attack against her. And all CyMs have attack 2, so they're going to roll 2 dice against Pi, as we now know is Dex 3. And every time anything is 3 or higher is 1 damage. They don't have an action store, so Pi would take 1 damage, and this one would be a miss. Unfortunately, I can't move Glitch, and that would be my CyMs activation, and it goes to my turn with the Survivalist. Survivalist, earlier, Thug used 2 AP already. I have 3 more for Seeker to use. Seeker is not really a offensive type character in terms of doing damage or controlling people, but she is really slippery, I would say. So one of the things Seeker can do, she does have a ranged weapon of 2, 3. I have to get a little closer. So Seeker is going to move herself 1 closer. That's a free walk. She can walk up to 5. She's actually pretty fast. And then she's going to make a ranged attack on Buck. She has attack 4, so I get to roll 4 dice. And Buck's dex is
Buck's dex is only 2.
Ah, I knew I targeted you for a reason. Oh, well, good thing it was a 2 because that would have been really bad. So I get 2 hits. I could do 1 damage in her action store, but now since we're talking about passive abilities, what's Buck's passive ability?
Buck's passive ability is body armor. He reduces damage to this model by 1.
So if I did 1 damage, it would do nothing. And Seeker only has 1 damage, so there's no point in doing that. I actually want to look at my other abilities. For 1 hit, I could choose Sidestep 1. So I might just do that and kind of use it to cinematically strafe as I try to hit Buck. So I'm going to try again using 2 of my 3 remaining AP just to see if I could get there. Cool, that's a much better roll. Again, Seeker pretty much doesn't really do damage, so I could just keep sidestepping away. One thing I do want to show is I'm just going to make this a 6 to save time, because she has a passive ability called Concuss. When performing a range attack, if a 6-hit result is spent, the targeted model is stunned. Spent just means I need to use it in the action store. Since there's no point in doing the damage, I'm going to use it just to keep sidestepping, and now Buck is stunned. A stunned model cannot activate until they remove it, meaning it'll cost him 1 action point next turn to just remove that condition. And while he's stunned, his dex drops by 1. There's a specific edge case on if your dex 2, you never drop below 1. Take a look at our rules reference for what happens there, but pretty much it's always good for the attacker.
Indeed.
With that said, that kind of shows you how Seeker works versus how Thug works, and you kind of seen the 4 basic players' abilities. This complements the quick start guide. We are going to talk about the last thing with Sims, which is spawning them. So for example, Seeker, as you can see, she's really quiet. Everything that I just did creates no EM noise. If it were Thug doing it, he would have generated a lot more noise. I'm going to throw some noise on Thug just to kind of show an example. So when it's the end of the round, that means all 4 characters have activated, we start spawning Sims. Spawning Sims, we go for the person with the loudest EM noise, in this case Thug, and Brendan gets to spawn a Sims per die that's out here. Meaning, if I only had 6 noise, I would have only spawned 1 Sims. Since I have 2, I will spawn 2. So Brendan, go ahead.
So in this case, I have to choose the closest spawn point. The numbered locations are spawn points where these emerge from. So I'm going to start by placing this model here. Now, they immediately activate, which means that normally I would have to move up to 2 and end closer. But since I can't technically end closer than I already am, I'm going to stay right there and roll an attack on Thug. What's
Dex
your dex?
3, because I'm hyper aware.
All right, dex 3.
From the last video.
All right, so 1 hit, so 1 damage.
I still take 1 damage.
So that removes then 1 of these dice, and then we make another spawn.
Yes.
Now that that spawn point's taken up, I need to choose an adjacent location. So I could just pick one of these, but then I couldn't move. If for some reason I really wanted to get to one of these further locations, I could technically spawn here and move up and end closer to Thug. So we'll try that out for fun.
Right.
Roll dice.
Oh.
Cocked. That's going to be 2 hits.
2 hits.
Then we'll remove this EM noise.
All right. Then we go to the next loudest, which allows me to spawn. It's always the opponent spawning against the character. I get to spawn 1 noise against Buck. The closest spawn point. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. This one's closer. That's also 5. So I'm going to spawn here, and unfortunately I can't reach it, but at least I could start threatening him. And that pretty much concludes how Sims work, how they react, the ones on the board, how they react after each character activates, and how more Sims spawn after the round. Thank you for watching. We are going to do a third video right after this.